This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it, man, I know it, I know.
Yeah, so we worked it out. We partnered with PokerGo for this production, and obviously it should be no surprise that Pigtails handled the entire movie with help from my man Jacob, who did a lot of the actual shots that you see. So we basically pitched this idea to PokerGo where they were going to be financial partners with us. We were going to launch it on each of our sites simultaneously. We worked it out where the first month we're going to have it on our site on the free roll access. So anybody who signs up to the free roll access pass can watch TBD, for nothing more than an email address.
It's going to be really positive for Oscar, even though, like, I know, as you know, he's one of my best friends, and I know he's like hesitant of it, but I think it's going to be really positive, because I think most people can relate, and I'm just excited to see what people have to say. And if people think it sucks, then like maybe we should just quit this game, because I'm not sure we could, like, I know we always try to push towards better, but like this is going to be hard to top.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be fire for sure. I've watched the rough cut. I've seen the final cut. I've watched the final cut many times actually. I can't speak highly enough about Pigtails. Obviously, like, they're the absolute best. But more importantly, like, I can't say enough good things about Oscar. He was so candid throughout all of this, despite his hesitations. I know that he is going to be overly critical of himself in this film, but the reality is he translates very well on the camera, in my opinion, and he does represent the everyman in a big way. Like, something that I think gets lost when we talk about like pursuing poker as any sort of passion, whether it's a career or a hobby or otherwise. There's a very small percentage of people who are doing it at a high level, and there's an even smaller percentage of people that are making real money off of this game. But there is a massive, massive, massive amount of people that are pouring a lot of time, energy, and resources into pursuing this game in some sort of capacity. So I think it's much like sport in the way that 99% of people are never going to reach that upper echelon. But there is this larger cluster of people that, fall somewhere in the 70th percentile that are going to have just enough success to continually push them forward, but not enough success to call it a victory or to call themselves professional, or maybe that's the wrong term, but like to call themselves, proficient in this game.
Successful.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think Oscar did a really great job of representing that struggle, because that's the vast majority of people who play this game. They're going to relate. They're going to know what it's like to show up to a casino with an under-rolled situation or only a couple buy-ins in your pocket. They're going to understand what it means to, have to reevaluate everything at all costs, because you're in a situation where you're just trying to get by to the next opportunity. And then also they're going to relate to his successes, to the times where the stress is alleviated a little bit because he did have a big score, or he did have the availability to play in some games that he otherwise wasn't rolled for. And, I just think the entire journey is a very noteworthy one, and one that most people can relate to. But on top of that, I think hearing a lot of that 1% who have made it and do have some survivorship bias speak to their understanding of the survivorship bias and how lucky they were to get there is worth a lot. So like, I think, a lot of the names that we have intertwined throughout the interviews is one of the more compelling aspects of this film.
Yeah, I mean, seeing myself in the film was weird because, like, I just kind of remember the time, and it was, people, these films aren't made overnight, right? They're made through, like, years almost, right? It's been 2 years since we started the project.
More.
Yeah, and, like,
It's
even
been
just,
3.
like, 2 years ago, like, because, like, 2 years ago, I'm like, wow, I used to think like that, or wow, like, okay, maybe I should have given him a little bit more slack in these situations. Like, there was a lot of spots where, like, I felt like I was a little bit too hard on Oscar. And looking back at it, I was like, man, maybe I could have been a little bit softer. But it makes for good TV. Like, So in one sense, it's good for the audience. In another sense, it's like probably a little bit too harsh on him. Uh, so I kind of wish I could take a little bit of that back, just like because of my relationship with him. But for the audience, I think it's great to see like how critical like high stakes pros are, when they want to be with no no bull.
We're gonna show the clip, so I don't want to like super ruin it, but basically they were able to play with time in such a way that they took current footage, made it look raw and old, in line with like this 1930s infomercial, so to speak, of like gambling and early game theory discussion and stuff like that, and they just blended it all together in this cinematographic way that just like totally blew me away. Like I'm probably overhyping this, I'm sure, but like by the end of it, I was just like, man, that was so fucking good. Like, what even gave you the idea?
All right, let's see it.
Down through the ages, man's quest for easy wealth has often led to gambling. There have always been those who chose to worship at the altar of that fickle goddess chance. Men who lived and sometimes died in the pursuit of excitement and riches gained without labor, risking all upon the turn of a wheel, rising to the peaks of affluence, then sinking to the depths of poverty and despair. Slaves to the varying moods of that heartless lady, luck.
In general, humans are uncomfortable with ambiguity and uncomfortable with uncertainty. We like things to be stable. We like things to be black and white. We like to label things. We like to have an answer. A leads to B. Not, well, A could also lead to C, and it can also lead to kind of C and a half-ish. And actually, the alphabet's not really relevant here, which is the way that life is. Life is noisy. Life is uncertain. Life is risky. There's nothing that's ever 100% true. Now, because that's kind of the human tendency, that can actually be very detrimental in a lot of decision-making environments. And poker is an environment where you really have to understand risk if you're going to play well. And a lot of people can't get past that hump.
I can imagine that Berkey's going to put another 17,000 in there with this holding.
Have you ever watched Berkey play?
I have, but
He lives for these moments.
I came to poker late in life. I started literally from zero. I did not know how many cards were in a deck. So believe me, I did not know if a flush beat a straight or a straight beat a flush or what a full house was. This was just a totally foreign language. So for me, I was more interested in a lot of the concepts around poker, and I had no idea really that poker was even a tool for this until I started researching for my next book, the role of luck in our lives, and trying to figure out how do I get into this question of how much of our lives do we control? And I came across John von Neumann's theory of games, which is the foundational text of game theory.
I'm glad that you're asking this question because it's really a very good one. No, we don't have enough people, and we better do something about it. And I hesitate to say that we better do something about it quickly, but rather we better do something about it both quickly and then continuously.
So John von Neumann, this absolutely brilliant guy, one of the greatest polymaths of the 20th century, father of the computer, one of the fathers of the hydrogen bomb, inventor of game theory. He was a huge poker player, and he thought, if I solve poker, I'm going to have the key to the most complex decision-making in the world. Because poker, unlike chess, is much more like life. Because real life is a game of incomplete information. So there's information that we have in common. Then there's information that only I know. There's information that only you know. And we're not quite sure how much of what I know you know, how much of what you know I know, and that's poker. That's not chess. That's not even Go, even though Go is much more strategically complex than chess. It's still a game of complete information where there's always a right move. And in poker, there's no right move because there's no always. We can only make certain assumptions.
He's got that look, man. I've seen this Berkey look before.
Is it the poker twinkle?
Yeah, he is. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 5-bet to the tune of 60,000.
So taking risks as a poker player, taking risks in life, does not mean that you're going to become an aggressive maniac. The rational, the smart choice is actually to take risks when the percentages are on your side.
What did I tell you, Ollie?
And to not take them when they're against you.
53K. As Berkey zeroing in on Haxton. Don't adjust your screens. This man just stuck $53,000 into the pot with King 5 suited. And downs Haxton.
Now we're playing some poker.
The purpose of that little 4-minute section is so utterly profound. Like, if there is one lesson to take away from this entire 90-minute film, it has to be, in my opinion, like the relationship that the human brain has with risk and how incredibly impossible it is for us to parse through what is emotional, what's rational, and what's just some sort of bias that we're baked into.